Thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Dagwa, and right now we get into the health check segment. And as promised earlier today, we are going to be looking at regenerative medicine. I know it's a term that is not familiar to many, but that is the reason why we have the doctors we have on set today and the qualified researchers that we also have on the show today, because they will be letting us in on everything matters regenerative medicine, the current research and the clinical trials, as well as stem cell and gene therapy. Allow me to introduce my guest. I have with me Samuel Oliech Omolo, PhD, who is a researcher and founding director of the Pan-African Institute of Genomic Sciences, and is also the chairman of the Live From Many Syndrome Association Africa chapter. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. Okay, let's continue. I'm supposed to also be joined by Dr. Victor Oria, who's the Chief Scientist, Integrated Cancer Research Foundation of Kenya. When we have him on, we'll get to him. But let's begin with you, Samuel. Let's begin with first defining this word that is not as common to many, that is regenerative medicine. When you talk about that, what does it mean?
Thank you very much for hosting us. Regenerative medicine is an old term, but as technologies evolve over years, it just talks about using specialized cells that can regenerate into different tissues for different applications in the medical world, where you can have treatment for particular diseases, enhancement or regenerative organs that can be used in the human body. Animals also apply the same. Yes. And just to maybe make it make our people understand first what stem cells are, because they're major players. It's a big player when it comes to regenerative medicine. Stem cells are young cells within the human body. They're found in human body. They're also found in embryos, what we call embryonic stem cells. Then we also adult stem cells. And there are also other sources, MSCs, where you can get stem cells. Those are things like amniotic fluid, placenta, yes, where you can get stem cells. So stem cells, they're not yet differentiated, they're not yet divided, and you can program them to form any type of tissue within the body. So they could either transform into bones, into blood, into your ear, into a whole human being. So human beings have learned over years to tap into this space to manipulate these non-differentiated cells for medical care, or to regenerate them for specific purposes in the medical world. Yes.
So even just from what you've said, how does the body naturally just generate, and how does modern science enhance the process? Because when you've talked about stem cell, it's regenerating, you know, organs in the body and things in the body. Let me use the word things in the body. So how does it generate naturally, and what's the difference when it comes to the two?
Thank you very much. So there are several ways in which stem cells can be regenerated. Stem cells from the embryonic life form at fertilization. Once there's fertilization and the baby starts to develop the oocyst, most of those cells are they're called stem cells. They're not yet differentiated. Yeah, they've not decided whether they want to be your ear or your blood or your leg. And this is the right spot where they're being targeted to be picked up. Others are also generated at the placenta. You find them within the jellies. Yeah, the placenta, amniotic fluid. They're not yet differentiated to take shape on what they really want to be. So each and every human being generates their own stem cell, even in adults. So that is one type. The other one is we have induced stem cells. Over years, this has been a big ethical debate on whether to touch embryonic stem cells, because that's like killing life. yeah, or something, the big debate like abortion. And over time, there's a Japanese scientist who also came up, and they got a Nobel Prize for that. These are called induced pluripotent stem cells, which means he reversed the normal adult stem cell back to embryonic stem cell state, which can now be used as stem cells. So which means this has advanced medicine to an extent that even an adult cell, skin cell or any other cell, can be reprogrammed back into stem cell. So the human body, almost everyone, from the bone marrow, most parts of the body, you will get stem cells. Yes.
So now regenerative medicine is considered a major frontier in healthcare.
Yeah.
I don't know just how far are we as a country to get to the point where now this is a thing. I know it's big in Asia, specifically in China. So how far are we as Kenyans and Africa, maybe in general, to get to a point where now stem cell and gene therapy is a thing?
That's a good question. Africa, first of all, stem cell therapy is no longer myth as it used to be. This now has wide application in regenerative medicine across the world. America takes the lead, very big in stem cell therapy and regenerative medicine, then the Asian world and Europe. But Africa is lagging behind, not because of any other unique reason. We have the strongest genetic diversity, which is very good for stem cell research and also regenerative medicine studies. We have the most diverse genetic gene pool. And Africa, in terms of applied research and translational of this, translating this beautiful research that we do into the industry and then to the clinic, what we call doing it for the patient, has been on a slow pace because of development, policy, because not every technology is also good. There are so many regulatory issues regarding manipulation of any cell and anything you're introducing into human being. So Africa, we still say we are at its infancy. We're just starting. So we need global partnerships with established industries, training in universities, and our health professionals and agricultural research centers to ensure that we bring this technology to Africa and to make it work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we still have a long way to go to make that happen?
We have a long way to go, but the technology is there, just like we acquired the mobile phone technology. Kenya has, and Africa has a big pool of trained professionals. It's not that people are not trained. Well-trained scientists, well-trained technicians in these fields. So we just need good policies to make sure that we are rolling out these ones and the goodwill from government to bring it into practice. Yes.
All right. So are there any diseases or injuries that regenerative approaches can now treat that were impossible to treat back, some years back?
Maybe we bring our colleague on board, Dr. Victor.
The director will instruct me when Dr. Victor is ready.
Okay.
So we can just
Your question again?
Are there any diseases or injuries that, regenerative approaches can now treat that was kind of impossible back in the days?
That's a good question. The world has been dogged with so many terminal illnesses that we have. Number one, you could get an injury, stroke. We have something like arthritis. These are some of the things that have been resolved using anemia, leukemia. All these have been resolved using regenerative medicine, stem cells to be very specific. An example, last week there was a big breakthrough in cancer treatment, not last week, 2 weeks ago, when a parent who's been suffering from leukemia for a very long time had no solution. He was getting into a terminal situation where he could not be treated. But the only donor, stem cell donor that could save his life was his 9-year-old boy. This had never been seen in the medical world. And when the doctors allowed the boy under risk conditions to donate his stem cell, his stem cells worked magic and the dad is now cancer-free.
Okay.
So these are practical applications that are now happening. Stroke is a big problem. So instead of using drugs to treat gradually, these stem cells, they're wonder cells. Yeah? They carry the right copies of mitochondrial DNA, which gives cells all the energy they need to regenerate into the tissues that are needed. So instead of waiting to treat, you are regenerating tissues, yeah, back to its normal state. And this has been used widely in treating so many diseases. Yes. Yeah.
So these are really, great advancements in the healthcare sector. I can only imagine, because if, as you've mentioned, cancer is one of the diseases that is really considered deadly at the moment, and it's almost considered a disease that has no cure really. There's cure, yes, but sometimes it's like a death sentence. So to know that we can actually use stem therapy, a stem cell to actually, get into it, and one gets cured completely off of it, then it's something that is very commendable, and something that we should get into it, in terms of research and all of that. You had mentioned to me earlier on that the Pan-African Institute of Genomic Sciences is now certified. So what does that mean? In Kenya, there are a number of research institutes. And we want to thank the Kenyan government and His Excellency the President for bringing in a new state department for research and innovation under the PS, Professor Shakut Abdulazak. So we've been registering new research institutes in Kenya, and last week the Kenyan government cleared and gave out certificates through NACOSTI and the State Department with 13 new research institutes. So if you go to the list, you'll see 46 of them, and the Pan-African Institute of Genomic Sciences is number 45. Yeah. So we are proud of this achievement. It gives us the platform to do research and the mandate to do research and training. We are setting up, we are bringing on board infrastructure, partnership that's going to make us grow. And the unique thing about Pan-African Institute of Genomic Sciences is that we don't want to do beautiful science where it's good publication and we publish and just leave it at that point. We are looking at a future of translational research where whatever innovation is being translated into trial and a product, a therapy to the patient, or a therapy to the agricultural industry, or a therapy that's going to help the world, both environment, human, or animal. So we are very keen on translational genomics. What products are we giving out to support our country? So we are very grateful to the Republic of Kenya as we grow this young baby into a global institute. Yes. There has been the conversation on elongation of life, and whether stem cell therapy can be able to actually elongate someone's life. Like, is it a thing? Is it possible that, this therapy, this kind of therapy, can add you more years on earth?
That's a very good question. Yes, it's true. The more you age, as I told you, stem cells are like replacement backup raw material if you are building a house or you have a car. So they're always on standby, young, continuously dividing. If there is one cell that's aged or damaged, they replace and turn into the right tissue for that part. So stem cells have the capability, and it's being used currently in the beauty industry, also for treatment, for aging. Because you're basically bringing in a new cassette that has new healthy software. There are two things, it's the hardware and the software. Software is in the DNA, the carrier of the biological material. And the hardware is the cells that we have. So when an old person gets stem cell therapy, basically an injection of new cells that are more energetic because of the fairly good mitochondrial DNA capability of those new cells, This has the old person will now be able to generate new cells. Yeah. Longevity starts from there. So these cells can divide over years and years. Yeah. And they're more stable. The immune reactivity is also very low. So which means you're not going to reject, your body is not going to reject them. So this is a big debate, but it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Religion states that life is God-given and only God knows, how long one can live. Is this where now we usually say science and religion kind of conflict?
Yes, these are religious beliefs, but remember, we are using our own stem cells, what's already in our body. So there's no conflict of interest there, because if you get your own stem cells to treat you find a situation where a family member, let's say, has Huntington's disease, and they could lose their life within a certain period, or a brain tumor, or stroke. There's the ethical question where, are you getting this from an animal or any other thing? But if you're getting your own cells to treat you or to make you much younger and stronger and live for long for purpose, then there is no ethical issue at that point. It is a good thing. We need more, we need longer productivity on Earth, also to serve purpose. Yes. So longevity is an idea that its time has come, both for health purposes, also for quality of life of human beings, because we only live you have quality life up to age 64. The remaining 10 or 12 years are years of problems. But if you're told today, through your own stem cells, you can get more quality life as you age and do more purposeful things on Earth, then to me that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk regulation now, specifically in the country when it comes to matters regenerative medicine.
In Kenya or across?
In Kenya and in Africa in general.
That's a good question. Kenya generally is a champion when it comes to regulatory matters for anything therapeutic, pharmaceuticals, what we call the pharma, or diagnostics. There we cannot doubt we have Pharmacy and Poisons Board, we have KEBS, we have KMLTTB, we have our established research institutes like Kenya Medical Research Institute. So in terms of regulatory care for anything that's coming into the country or new technologies, and we also have NACOSTI regulating almost every research that's being done in this republic. Kenya is on top of their game. So anything that moves, that comes into this country is just a matter of protocol, not how it should be done, because there's already a clear platform, there's proper classification on which product is registered under what, their verification, what's allowed in Kenya and what's not allowed in Kenya. So in terms of regulatory requirements, we are good to go. Across Africa, the technology acquisition is still at its infancy, growing. Most countries are not very strong in terms of regulatory platforms like what Kenya has, but Kenya and South Africa are way much ahead. And we are ready for the technology.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what tests maybe determine whether one is a candidate for gene therapy? Are there particular tests, or everyone can be a candidate?
That's also a good question. Gene therapy, maybe just to describe what gene therapy is first. Stem cells are vehicles that can be used to regenerate certain tissues that have problems. But gene therapy is, first of all, you're modifying genes for different purposes. You could modify a gene by cutting them using enzymes to get, let's say, cows that produce high levels of milk, quantities of milk. You could edit a gene to glow in trees at night for environmental aesthetics. You can edit a gene to produce certain proteins that are good for the brain or the body, or to produce vitamin A for children in certain types of food. So gene therapy is basically modifying a certain gene for an expected outcome in different applications, in medical care, in agriculture, in environment, or other places. So gene therapy in the medical world, I know that is what's of really interest, has been used over time, where chronic diseases, even blindness, has been reversed using gene therapy. So what you're doing is, if there's a defective gene, because of what we see, our eye color, our skin color, the kind of height we have, biological information is transformed from the DNA into proteins. Proteins are now what we see. So there are some defective ones that lead to diseases. All these kind of diseases we're talking about. So if you get the right copy of a gene, for example, someone with diabetes, and you get the right copy from another person, you cut the bad one using enzymes and replace it with the good one. The body will naturally start producing the good protein that's needed, for this case, insulin, and corrects that kind of disease. So gene therapy works hand in hand with these vehicles called stem cells and also exomes for the medical industry and other applications.
All right.
Yes.
I am being directed that the doctor is now ready. Dr. Victor Oria, who, if you can hear me, good morning. And if I may just introduce him yet again, Dr. Victor Oria is the Chief Scientist, Integrated Cancer Research Foundation of Kenya. Good morning, if you can hear me, Doc.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and we can now see you. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. I'm just in the village, relaxing a bit. So you might be hearing some sounds from cows and sheep. I tried my best to close all the windows, but they still come through.
All right, thank you for warning us in advance.
Yes.
All right, now we've gotten into this conversation already. We're talking about regenerative medicine, stem cell and gene therapy, and everything surrounding regenerative medicine. And Mr. Samuel Oluoch here has really gotten us into the nitty-gritties of it and helped us understand this term that was quite new to many of us. So now maybe if you may just get into it by telling us, since you're more on cancer research, maybe what regenerative medicine is doing in that space.
I mean, specifically when we talk about gene therapy has found an important niche, especially in the treatment of blood cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, acute multiple myeloma. So and usually there's a form of treatment called CAR therapy. You've probably heard of it. So this is where we take immune cells from a patient or from a donor, and we re-engineer them with specific receptors that are able to recognize cancer cells, and then we re-inject them back into the body of the patient. And then, because now they are expressing receptors that are able to recognize cancer cells, then they go ahead and start killing these cells. So it's a way of boosting a patient's immunity, because cancer by itself has engineered itself in such a way that even though our immune system is strong, it's unable to. The immune cells are unable to recognize it. So when we take out these immune cells, specifically T cells, and then we add certain special receptors on them that are able to recognize the leukemia cells or the lymphoma cells or the myeloma cells, and then it's able to treat them. So CAR therapy is one of the most advanced form of gene therapy that we have for cancers available. We are trying this for solid tumors, such as breast cancer, melanoma, pancreatic cancer, but we are still many years back, because there's a difference between liquid tumors, these are now the blood cancers, and solid tumors such as breast, prostate, and pancreatic cancer.
Just out of curiosity, one would ask, why is it that we record very high death, numbers of death from cancer, different types of cancer, yet we have such, such advancement that could assist in even elongating one's life and helping in healing the cancers?
I mean, it boils down to our priorities. That's what I always say. It boils down to our priorities. Research as an industry has a huge potential, especially in a country like Kenya, where we boast of having some of the best education. We have many public universities, private universities, teaching and research hospitals. We have many private institutions, private research institutions in this country. So it means the blueprint is there. Yeah. And in many advanced countries, whether it's the United States, whether it's the United Kingdom, whether it's Germany, whether it's Australia, Japan, South Korea, all these countries that we aspire to be like, the leading source of research funding is the public. If you look at our budget, even from last year, and my guess is as good as mine, your guess is as good as mine, how much money was allocated for research. So if we start redirecting taxpayers' money to fund research, then it becomes easier to attract money from the private sector to boost what already the public is giving. And just like Sam, because I was following Samuel before I joined, I was just listening to what he was saying. Unless and until we invest in these things, then we are never going to see their benefit. They will always come from abroad, and they will come very expensively, and then the people who really need to benefit from them will never benefit from them. Because like right now, if you look at the US, they are trying this new gene therapy for sickle cell anemia. And we know that in the Lake region in Kenya, sickle cell is one of the biggest problems. But I don't know, on top of my head, I can't really tell how much money that the Kenyan government has just allocated for research and development in the area of sickle cell disease. But we have Kenyans, majority of Kenyans in this region who actually suffer from this disease, but we are not investing in it. So how do we expect to get solutions if we don't invest in it? So it's all about us having the right priorities and doing the right thing, because the talent is there, the capacity is there. But as a cancer biologist who has worked abroad over the last 13 years, I see the amount of resources that these nations put in the research pipeline and the product that comes out of it. It's medicine, it's new diagnostics, it's new ways of or new protocols for clinical trials, or new protocols for treating certain resistant diseases. And it cuts across cancer, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, other inherited genetic diseases, and so on. But here, that's not what we do. We are more, I always say that we are more interested in brick and mortar economy, what we can see, or we've built a tall building, or we built a super highway. But we need to now start moving away from that and reinvest in the knowledge economy, because the values that we will get from the knowledge economy is what will take us to that next level where we want to be.
And as you are speaking all through, Samuel, you've been nodding your head. So you definitely agree with what Doc is saying, because when it comes to matters, putting money, in the right places.
Absolutely, I totally agree with what Doc is saying. That's the way to go. As I mentioned to you during our off-camera talk, is that there are so many orphan scientists in this republic, people who have nowhere to practice, while we have a huge brain pool in this country that can do wonders. That's an industry on its own. So we just need to train and retrain a few people, just like stem cells. They're ready, they can do anything, but we make them more specialized. We also need to rethink about investing a lot of money, as my colleague is saying, in centers of excellence in this republic. Not all universities can do everything. You want to do education, you want to be known in engineering, you want to be known for law, that's impossible. Every institute was built for speciality. UON was built for medicine and engineering, Egerton agriculture, KU education. So if we invest more in centers of excellence, with also embracing research institute and our people, then we're going to build a biotech economy that's much bigger than what we are seeing currently. We are looking at a future as young scientists, and with a strong conviction that the biotech industry is going to be the biggest when it comes to GDP of this republic in the future. And that's not going to take long. As we say, stem cells and gene therapy is no longer a myth. Yeah. It's something that's already in the clinic. And me, I come from two backgrounds, research and also industry. I've worked in the diagnostic industry. There's a huge competition when it comes to now products that are linked to gene therapy for solving medical issues in the current world. Yeah. So funding plays a key role in driving all this. We are urging the Kenyan private sector and also individuals to contribute towards research, including churches. Because there's the spiritual aspect, but there's also the medical aspect, because people must be treated. And together we win. Yes. I
get you on that. I would want for us now to get into talk about clinical trials. Yeah. You know, when you talk about clinical trials, how does that look like, especially in Kenya? We can hear from you, and then we get to hear from Doc as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. When it comes to stem cells research and also clinical trials for products that go into the industry as medicine, I was very lucky that 3 weeks ago, there's a company from China that reached out to Pan-African Institute of Genomic Sciences, and they're the biggest in stem cells in the world. And they sent me a questionnaire of what they would want to see when they fly in here. So the first thing on that question is that, what's the status of clinical trials, stem cell work across Africa, and especially Kenya? So I had to Google and check. But there was very scanty information when it comes to that. So I had to personally drive into Kemri, and luckily enough, I found that Kemri has a stem cell research laboratory. Good news, but still at its infancy. They just received funding to start. So clinical trials are very important with both local and international partners as they bring in the tech to train us, and we have the genetic material. Together we grow this technology, do clinical trials according to regulatory requirements in Kenya to give products that benefit Africans. So clinical trials in Africa for stem cell and regenerative medicine, and also, not CRISPR. CRISPR and gene editing clinical trials are already all over Africa, being done in agriculture, for veterinary line, in plants, yeah? Even pharmaceutical industry for vaccine production. That one is active and going on. But for stem cell, at its infancy, partnership with universities and training would get us to the standards where Europe, America, and Asia are.
Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Victor, I would love you to also give your remarks on the same, specifically when it comes to clinical trials and maybe in research when in cancer as well.
So I think, thank you, Sam, for that nice comment and opinion. The clinical trials are very important, because before you bring any diagnostics or medicine into use in the clinics, we first need to test them, and we test for efficacy, we test for safety, we test for many other things that are important before we can sell a drug. And it starts right. Any medicine you see we sell in this country has undergone some sort of clinical trials. And as a country, we have done so well in the infectious disease space, because whether it's HIV, whether it's TB, whether it's malaria, pneumonia, we're doing clinical trials for all these infectious diseases. But unfortunately for cancer, the last I checked, the whole of Africa, about only 1.1 or 1.2% of all clinical trials involving cancer happen in Africa. And we know that cancer is a very personalized disease. What I mean by that is you can have 10 patients with breast cancer or 10 patients with prostate cancer, but they're all very different. So you can't give them the same medicine. And that's why now clinical trials are very important, because what we are seeing is that the same type of cancer can have different types of drivers. And by drivers, I mean what is it addicted to? What is driving it? What is pushing it forward? And probably, since you're a journalist in the health space, if I could use an example of breast cancer, you've heard of triple-negative breast cancer. You've heard of invasive ductal carcinoma breast cancer, luminal A breast cancer, luminal B breast cancer. So these are different types of breast cancers, and they are treated differently. Okay. So clinical trials will help you, like, a biotech company or a pharma company find the right type of cancer for the drug that they are making. Unfortunately, in Africa and even in Kenya, it's starting to pick up, but we are still not doing enough. And again, what we are trying to do is we are doing clinical trials for drugs that are developed in the West. And what I can tell you with a lot of confidence is that women with breast cancer in America or in Europe, that breast cancer is very different from patients in Kenya. And I've attended several conferences in this country and abroad to know that their drivers are very different. So we need to, I go back again to the statement that I made initially, that we need to have our own research in our own context, understanding cancer and any other non-communicable disease in our own context. Then we can develop the right drug to serve the right population, so that when you go to do a clinical trial, you have the right patients to actually test this on. Because if you are testing the wrong drug on the wrong patients, your guess is as good as mine the kind of result you're going to get. Yeah. So there are many institutes that are coming up, and like Sam was saying that recently President William Ruto, through the Department of Science and Technology, licensed several research institutes to kind of like drive this space forward. What we now need to follow is financial backing. We need financial backing that says we're going to be spending this amount of money on cancer research in this country. And this then is then directed to specific centers for excellence. You don't need every hospital in this country treating cancer. That's the wrong way to go about it. You need 10 specialized centers spread across the country. You can pick MTRH, for example, to be serving like 4 or 5 counties around it, and it becomes a center of excellence. You can pick a Coast General Hospital in Mombasa as another center of excellence. You can go to Garissa, you can go to Marsabit, Turkana, and so on and so forth. So that you have specific centers of excellence that then just receive money for running the hospital, but also running a research department. Okay. Just to give you why this is important. So as part of my training, I was at Yale Medical School. So Yale University in the US is one of these premier universities. And I was affiliated with the Yale Cancer Center. And the most interesting thing about this was that on one side is the hospital, and on the other side is the research wing. So the questions that the doctors cannot answer while treating the patients is redirected back to us to try and solve in the lab. So you have this bench to bedside feedback loop that is constantly developing new medicines or trying to find out new combinations that can treat these cancers, or if these patients are not responding to these medicines that are there, we try to understand why, then we respond back to the clinic. And that, I think, is not really yet very strong in Kenya. So you have hospitals that are purely treating, and even if you look at the sort of investment that is going into the premier cancer facilities, the public cancer facilities we have in the country, the focus is more on treatment. And while that is good because you need to help these patients now, but what about those patients that you can't help? What are we doing about it? Are we sending them to die? And then the irony is, or the saddest reality is, there are many more patients in the pipeline coming, and they are going to be facing the same problem. So are they going to be reaching the hospital and then they are told, I'm sorry, we can't help you? And this is why you also see, because of that, we have many patients, after they are told we can't help you, they seek treatment abroad. You go to India, you go to South Africa, you go to Europe. And the sad reality is, even in those places, they can't be helped because their tumors are different. So unless we invest in research, and then what we produce is what we take to clinical trials, then we are in a zero-sum game. We are never going to solve this problem. And we can have this interview maybe in another 15 years. If the system is still the same, we'll still be saying the same thing.
Oh, what should be really unfortunate. That's not what we want, you know. And I love that you've brought up the bit where you talked about, you know, drugs not being developed here most times because we've not put enough resources into research. You know, the fact that, you know, most of the drugs we test here are from outside. And there's something you had mentioned to me off air, you know, that our DNAs are different. There's drugs that would work on someone else, but the same drug with you having the same condition would not work on you because our DNAs are different. Yeah, and I think this is something that should be spoken about, you know?
Absolutely. For so many years, the technologies we've been consuming in the cosmetic industry, medical drugs, they were all developed on the genetics of the Caucasians, Asians, Europeans, but not the African. Each person is very unique. Even twins, identical twins, are different genetically. How they respond to drugs, how they respond to some stimuli or environmental factors are totally different. So this is now where we call personalized medicine or precision medicine. You're only treated with what fits into your genetic information that can accommodate the genetic composition within you as a person. So this is the right time to talk about such kind of things, especially in drug discovery and drug development for Africans. We have to invest heavily in DNA sequencing to map out the African genome. Genome is the total biological information in a person's gene. So the African Genome Project has to be done. We need to map out the African Cancer Atlas. Yeah, we have to understand the types of cancers that are in Africa, because cancer is majorly a genetic inherited problem. Maybe up to 99%. The remaining ones, running, doing exercise, food, these are environment. We just call them environment. Yeah. So if we understand the African genetics, map out African genetics properly, we are able to produce targeted drugs that treat specifically Africans. This is why new institutions are called upon to partner, and not everyone to buy everything. If I have genetic sequencing capability, the next person should not invest in that. They should invest in stem cells and gene editing. So in summary, the African genome is a pool that has not been tapped, yet we are the most diverse and the cradle of mankind. So once we understand our genetics and study it, and also protect the information, we are going to produce quality drugs that target African diseases. Yes.
As we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, maybe you can speak on the misconceptions that people have around stem cell, around regenerative treatments that you feel should be demystified or debunked.
Thank you. There's a lot of fear when it comes to technology, especially all this still boils down to what people call GMOs, or genetic modification. So stem cells are not bad because you're just using your cells that are much younger and specializing them to treat you or to develop an organ that's defective in your body for treatment. So there's no ethical query there or problem. But the problem, which also as a scientist have to be careful about, genetic modification, gene therapy, the source of the gene, the new gene that's working to the human patient must be verified properly, must undergo ethical review properly, so that we're also not malicious, because this technology can also be highly misused. So we should not fear genetic modification as a way of treatment into the future, because when COVID struck hard, a modified RNA was used to create a vaccine that saved the whole world. That's genetic modification. So there are times when the technology is very good, but regulatory affairs must take strict measures to ensure that human beings are also protected. For us not to produce babies that would be future super military, to produce superhuman beings in the future, designer babies. But we look at it in the concept of saving humanity, bringing good products to the industry for the safety of human being and its environment.
All right. My last question to you, Dr. Victor. How close are we to growing functional organs that can be used for transplants?
I mean, it's a delicate question. Actually, before I relocated back to Kenya, I was in Denmark, and there was this small biotech company that is working on growing livers in the lab that can then be used for liver transplants in the clinic. And I don't know what level they are now, but I found that to be really, really, really exciting. I mean, all these things, we can do them. The only issue, or the biggest barrier is human genetics is very heterogeneous. What will work for you will definitely not work for me. So we are yet to find that sweet spot. We are yet to identify those, those unique markers that we all share as humans that can also be, manipulated for medical purposes. So that's where the biggest problem is. And of course, there's also the ethics around it. If you put this thing into human beings, how are they going to react? Is it still going to keep growing in the human, or how is it going to stop? And then how will that also affect other organs? Because as a human being, we are intelligent designs. Yeah, the way we work, the way everything, synergizes, the way organs synergize with each other is something that we are still learning, and we still don't have an idea about how everything works. And this is also why when you look at the question that we have today, stem cell applications in regenerative medicine and even gene therapy, while it has widespread application, while we can use it for so many things, for instance, for stem cell transplantations, the only thing that we do right now is bone marrow transplant. So when you hear people saying, I'm doing a bone marrow transplant, your bone marrow has something called hematopoietic stem cells, and this is what then divide into red blood cells, white blood cells, your natural killer cells, and so on and so forth. That's the only FDA-approved stem cell therapy that we have. The others are still in the pipeline. We are working on them, but because of the challenges of not knowing if this stem cell is going to divide into what you want, because for stem cells, as Samuel said before, they are undifferentiated cells, and then you program them to differentiate into a neuron, or into an epithelial cell, or into a muscle cell, or into whatever you want them to be. So it means there are certain signals that you have to light up, and you have to dim certain signals. But then when you put them into the body, how are they going to stop? So these are some of the challenges that we are facing. But I believe that as technology is improving, as our understanding of human genetics, human physiology is improving, it's just around the corner. I can't say when, but I know it's just around the corner before we hear, we have something great here for humanity.
All right, thank you so very much for joining us, and thank you to Samuel excuse me, for joining us for this conversation. You have been able to shed light on regenerative medicine, and I am sure that everyone who's been watching has gotten to learn a thing or two from this. My take home is let's put more funding into some of these things, because from the conversation we've had, it could save a lot of lives. Thank you so much for coming.
Most welcome.
All right.
And the parting shot is we need biotech companies in Kenya to be brave enough, startups, to take up these lines.
All right.
Yes.
And there we have it. This is where we end this conversation. My name is Vivian Degwa. This has been Health Check right here on Good Morning Kenya. And we usually talk matters health each and every Tuesday. So always make sure to tune in and get informed on a number of things matters health.